to Tyler and Natalie and Chris. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Really excited about it. Just a little bit before we dive in. So my name is Chris Boyd. I serve as the VP of Product at Built Technologies, and I'm going to introduce the rest of the gang here in just a moment. But at Built, we have built software over the last 7 years that really helps facilitate consumer construction finance and construction lending, as well as across other market verticals on top of that. So we're going to spend some time talking about best practices for managing consumer construction loans. And we're going to bring a few different people to bear from Built to share a little bit about their experience in that space. So if you can move forward to the next slide for me. Thank you. And so a little bit about what we're going to do. I'm going to be speaking a little bit to Natalie Myrick, who is a member of our team, but who has worked at several different lending institutions, but in the construction industry for quite some time. We're going to hear a little bit about her background, some of the stuff that she has done in a leadership role to manage a construction lending operation in a consumer context. We're going to articulate a little bit about our product and then walk through a demo to show you a little bit about how that manifests to add value as you're managing these consumer construction projects. And then I'm going to speak a little bit about what we're doing at Built to continue to make the platform more and more valuable over time. And then ultimately we'll open it up for some Q&A at the end. Hopefully we can address every single one of those in the time allotted. Tony, if you keep going for me. Awesome. So by way of introduction, again, my name is Chris Boyd. I've been with Built now for a little over 5 years. So been just a part of shaping a lot of what we're doing. And the role of product, I know, is unfamiliar to some. Specifically in the product team, we work closely with individuals in the market, be they customers or prospects, to understand exactly what pain points and challenges you face as you're managing these construction projects on a daily basis. And so we've spent countless hours looking over shoulders, watching exactly how these loans are managed, learning about the pain points and the different tools and technologies that are used in the process. And so that's what product really brings to the table. I'm joined by Tyler Matheny, who's a solutions engineer on our team. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that means, but he's going to be facilitating the demo here today. He's actually been with Built even longer than I have. And then Natalie Myrick is our director of consumer solutions. And we're going to be spending some time asking her a bunch of questions about her experience in managing consumer construction loans at her time at a previous institution. So really, really excited to join you all today, and hopeful that this is valuable for everybody involved. So a little bit about Natalie before we dive in. So I've worked with Natalie now for several years, and I'm going to ask her several questions today, but just want to highlight a bit of her background. So her current role is that she's the director of consumer solutions here at Built, which means that she works closely with every single consumer construction lender that we have as a client today. And as a part of that, she helps them facilitate a process to optimize not only the way that they use our software, but the way that they're managing their overarching consumer construction offerings in general. And so with that, Natalie, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you just a few questions about your background. I know you have been previously at Umpqua Bank as a VP of construction servicing. Can you tell us just a little bit about your time there and what all your role entailed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I want to back up just a little bit because I think, here at Built, we offer so much, a process plus a platform, right? Not just a solution. So part of my background is implementation of MSP software with Umpqua Bank, accounting, investor reporting. And then after services and systems, I ran the construction department, as I've been in the construction industry for about 20 years now. So with that, the team at that time was growing quickly. And so we really had to stop and think, what are we going to do, right? So we got up to about 24 associates on the construction team, and that included new construction, residential, whether it was portfolio or investor, along with renovation products. And then we did a review pre-close, and then also the servicing, all kit and caboodle, cash servicing, extensions, etc., on the construction team that I managed.
Awesome, thank you for that. And so just to ask you a few more questions, as you were managing that team, Natalie, what were some of the things that were really important to you to ensure that the team was operating effectively, that there was a great customer experience? Can you just articulate some of the stuff that you did to ensure that was the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it came down to it, we knew that with the growth that we had, that we couldn't continue, and our work-life balance with the team just was becoming an issue, right? When you find that you're constantly growing, that takes time to train people, and that slows down the rest of the staff. So with looking for a technology, we knew that we wanted something that would help interact with our builders and our borrowers to allow them to see more, to ask less questions on the lender side, and increase our productivity, because it really was redundant in the processes, right? So you're ordering an inspection, that inspection is coming back, you're inputting it into something else, you're doing a review, you're communicating with the builder and the borrower, you're updating information, you're saving it into papers and printing, or you are using a paperless process that is not the best per se. So definitely knowing that if we wanted to continue and keep the staff that we had, we needed to make some adjustments. And so that's when we went on the hunt.
Got it. And so just to say that back to you then, when you're thinking about some of the gaps specifically that existed for you, it sounds like some of that was just inefficiency and having to manage a lot of paper in the process, and also the lack of a collaboration solution with your borrowers and your builders. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And so obviously you and I worked together specifically early on in that process. I'm kind of curious to hear, when you look back on adopting Built specifically in an effort to solve for some of those things, what are some of the gaps that were filled as a result of doing so?
Yeah, it was interesting. Just when we started out looking at mapping and what we wanted to get out of it from the demo day one, knowing the cures we could instantly gain versus the processes that we wanted to implement now that we could continue to get additional efficiencies. Again, the staff was overwhelmed. So instantly we went from 50-hour weeks, like don't take a vacation, please don't call in sick, we can't cover anybody. Management working late into the evening to help kind of cover for where the team was, and taking on some of that role, right? Which then takes from our work-life balance. So needless to say, when people feel like they're strapped or stressed, people make mistakes, right? So again, we wanted to alleviate that. Instantly, the team was feeling relief. We went from those 50-hour weeks to 40-hour weeks, an easy 35. And we felt that now we could be more proactive versus reactive in our book of business. We continued to grow and we didn't have to add additional staff. So year over year growing about 28%, and the team did not have to grow. So before we were hiring 1 or 2 bodies a month just to keep up with the requests, we noticed that our customer service was better, our team was happier, there was smiles, you can hear it coming over the phone. Builders were ecstatic that they could see everything in one place and know exactly what was going on with their project and not have to call in or get an email or wait, or, why are you asking me this question again? Because the team is frustrated, right? So really bubbling up all that information at a glance for our builders and borrowers, and streamlining a process that really worked, partnering with the sales team all the way through to modification or conversion.
Awesome.
We also noticed, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to ask, as you're articulating all of those things, obviously every software purchasing decision ultimately is a business decision. And so for Umpqua, looking back as far as the ROI and ensuring that it was worth the investment, what are some of the things that the bank holistically looks at as the case, if you will, for the ROI associated with purchasing software to facilitate the process?
Yeah, so I think I want to take that a little bit larger, right? So I've been with Built for 2 years now and worked with a lot of different lenders, from little guys up to multi-billion-dollar companies that continue to have the same issue that I was having. So with that being said, it's really that interest, right? So number one, construction loans. Every day you get a draw out faster is more interest on the lender side that you earn. Every employee that you don't have to add is more money that's saved. If you're passing fees through to your builders or your borrowers, then again, that is efficiencies that you're saving for a cost of a program that adds so much life to your team and externally that you don't have to pay for. So the ROI becomes compounding all the way from lack of mistakes, reputational risk, interest, head count, communication between departments, reconciliation between core systems, advance notice of potential risks. So again, proactive being reactive, for loss mitigation type issues, builder issues when it comes to maybe a builder that's headed towards bankruptcy or foreclosure. I think we can all attest that in the past year, we have definitely had some new things pop up, and that ability to have it in one location and view the reporting that is provided within the platform makes it where a lender really can get their return on investment.
Awesome, thank you. And so with that, obviously, we've talked a lot about the product and the role that that's played in providing some ROI for Umpqua. I think it'll be important for everyone to see a little bit about the product and how that actually manifests. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tyler Matheny, who's one of our solutions engineers, and let him tell you a little bit about the role of a solutions engineer at Built and why that's so important. And then we'll dive into the product.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I'm a solutions engineer. You'll hear sales engineer. You might hear pre-sales. It really just speaks to getting a little bit more technical in the sales and implementation process. Even outside of the functionality and the code itself, to more of making sure that we understand exactly what Natalie and her team need, kind of exactly what are their current processes today? What is the mindset of their customers? What is the mindset of the builders that they work with? How will they respond to change in this way or that way? What are the other systems that are being used, and kind of the input and output capabilities of those systems, and where could we find efficiencies there? We definitely stand behind our product and feel like it would benefit just about anybody, but I do know that just from region to region throughout the country, there are very different schools of thought on how certain things can and should work. I mean, coming down to things like one lender might say, hey, I don't even want to see a draw request unless the borrower has authorized what the contractor has requested, right? Whereas another lender will say, let's get the borrower involved later. We'll review the contractor's request first. We'll get the inspection done. We'll get it right up until it's time to actually make the advance, and then we'll get the borrower to sign off on it. That's one specific example, but there are tons of different kind of schools of thought, and it's on us to make sure that we understand that, and that our technology supports a solution that is kind of catered to that. And so it's kind of a mix of just making sure that we kind of ferret out all of the technical requirements, but also just making sure that from a change management perspective, that not only will the solution work as intended, but can we make the leap from point A to point B, right? And so it's funny. Chris and I, we kind of both worked from that perspective with Natalie at the former group that she was at, and then and then thankfully since then she's joined and is definitely able to give a ton of insight and stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun because you really get in the kind of nitty gritty and really validate kind of what we've come up with. And there are some hard conversations where we feel like hey, we've designed it a certain way, but once you get out to California or once you get into the Midwest, it really needs to work in kind of a separate way. And then I can collaborate with Chris and his group to make sure that we can kind of incorporate some necessary changes into the app. And we try to be super agile in that way. And Chris does a great job of leading that team too. But yeah, so what we'll do just to kind of help you guys visualize what we're talking about when we talk about having like a collaborative platform and a way to do all of this online, where different parties can essentially see the same project rather, and see the same views, but have kind of different permissions therein. What I'll do is we'll kind of compare maybe a view of a consumer construction project, like a one-time close project, from a look at what it looks like to manage that in a spreadsheet versus, here's generally what a project would look like in Built. And then we'll actually walk through the draw request itself. So I'll log in as a contractor and actually, request a draw. and then I'll authorize it as the homeowner or as the borrower. We'll kind of walk through the inspection process, and then we'll kind of look at the view of maybe some like a loan administrator who's reviewing that draw request, and then we'll dive into some of the reporting. So we're not gonna get super in the weeds. I'm not gonna I'm gonna try not to bore anybody, but just so that I can kind of help you guys make that kind of round trip leap to understand how each part each part of the process is involved here. So I think
Tyler, I'm going to stop sharing, and then
okay.
you can share your screen.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so like I said, a lot of times what we see when we start working with the lender to start out with is something that kind of looks like this. There's all kinds of different flavors. You could have something where each draw has its own tab on a spreadsheet, or maybe there's an inspection sheet tab and a draws tab. But generally there's kind of a spreadsheet version of the project where you're maybe tracking kind of inspection process and kind of percent complete across maybe the schedule of values and that kind of thing. Tracking draws over time. Did we collect for inspection fees? When did the inspections happen? Maybe kind of a makeshift, draw checklist down in here. If you guys manage kind of one-time close or two-time close or like renovation construction loans, hopefully this is resonating with you a little bit. And I really only bring it up to kind of show the alternative, which is, a project in Built where, I'm logged in as the contractor right now. And so really I can just see the hard costs, but we'll take a look at kind of the full view of the project here in a second from the lender's perspective. But
so Tyler, I
yeah.
want to interrupt you for a second. Like
Mhm.
that was black and white just now from what you went to from here. Like all I was thinking was all the formulas that would be corrupt if somebody accidentally deleted something or this got deleted out of a folder versus here in Built, that's not going to happen. You can't click and damage anything on the home screen.
Right. Yeah, and that's the point. We're doing all of the calculations, it kind of in the back end before, so nobody has to go in and key in the inspection process and then make sure that it's calculating the right, availability. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see all that kind of automated here in a second. But it's a great point in that, you're not having to kind of Sherlock Holmes your way through figuring out like, okay, which cell, did we copy over? But we kind of give the contractor their view of the schedule of values here. They can have their view of the inspections that have happened over time, right? You can see where I did an inspection on this in my guest house or in my guest room at my house, but we'll do another inspection and we'll be able to see that here in just a second. A files tab where the contractor, the owner, the lender can kind of share files back and forth, and everything doesn't have to be sent via email all the time. And so we'll see that come into play here in a second as well, in addition to, just a kind of a running comments thread too. So, if Natalie or the loan administrator has something that they want to just keep here for posterity or send a message to the contractor or the borrower, but haven't recorded here, it's not only sent via email, but it's posted here and you can kind of have a threaded, comment conversation there. But kind of jumping right in, the contractor, of course, is going to be kicking off the draw request process. And so it'll pull up a view of the, all the hard costs here where they can go in and see what's budgeted for each line item and what is kind of remaining to fund, right? So we can go in and we'll request, just the full amount here on this doors line item. We'll say that the HVAC, everything's installed, and the electrical wiring, we'll say that's that line item is complete as well. They can key in the amount that they want to request. They can also key in maybe a proposed reallocation, right? So if they've got like a contingency line item or a miscellaneous line item, they can go in and say, yeah, we need to pull a certain amount of funds from here and move it there. They can go ahead and key that in. Still reviewed by the bank, still reviewed by the loan administrator, but again, it's another way for the source of this information, i.e. the contractor that's running the project, can be the one to enter it into kind of the official record as opposed to having to key it into their sheet or write it down on a piece of paper or what have you, and then hand it to somebody else who has to then key it in. That's kind of the point there. Along with the dollar amounts, they can also go in and upload, upload invoices, right? So if we want to go in here and, we can drag and drop invoices, into the system. I think I've got some demo invoice files here. So we'll go in and grab Bob's HVAC, right? So we can upload that to the HVAC line item. We can add, any kind of commentary or anything like that. We can add, some additional information that, text-based that we want to add there.
So I can put my reason for my reallocation right there with the invoice tied to that specific line item.
Right.
Nice.
Yep. So let's say we want to pull some funds from this AV of security, right? So the borrower decided, we don't need that surround sound system. So we're just going to pull 5,000 from that. It's just going to be security from now on. And then, this HVAC and duct line item, we're gonna increase that by 5,000. So we can go in and now we can request something even greater than that original budget amount. So that's kind of that inaction there. And then, you can review the invoice here in a little bit and kind of make sure that all tracks before it's finalized, but at least they can go ahead and key it in. They can also just attach files to the draw as a whole. And then they have to, electronically sign this draw request, right? So the contractor, they're authenticated into the system. And you as the lender, you might want to have your contractors agree to a certain legalese, a certain block of text here, and it might be different from bank to bank. And so you're able to customize this. But we'll go ahead and check the box. It'll upload my files, and what it will do is, again, depending on the configuration, this could notify the loan administration team directly, and they could take it and run with it from there. In this case, it has what it's done is it's pinged the borrower. So the homeowner just got an email saying, hey, your contractor has requested a draw. Log in, check it out, authorize it. And so I have another window set up here where I'm logged in as the owner. And so if I just reload this page, in addition to the email that I get, obviously kind of my like default view for this draw or for this project, we'll have kind of a big call to action up here, just saying, hey, your authorization of this draw is required. There's some kind of high level information just about kind of how complete the project is, the funds remaining, that kind of thing. They can click view loan details and go into that kind of more detailed project page that we were just looking at. But of course, for most owners that are involved in the process, a lot of times really all they're going to be doing is kind of responding to this kind of request for authorization of this draw. And so really what this is showing is it's showing the loan admin, the person at the bank who's running this project. It just shows them that, yep, the borrower has reviewed this kind of $80,000 draw. Borrower's probably been on site. They've probably got eyes on the project. They can go in and see what line items are being requested, right? What are the invoices, that kind of thing. They have visibility into that, but for them to authorize it very quick, and very similar kind of electronic signature legalese that they agree to when they authorize it. But at this point, the ball is in the bank's court, right? And so if I log in as my kind of bank administrator or draw specialist, we hear all different kinds of terms for it. They'll have maybe a queue of draws that they need to take care of. In the case of my demo environment here, I have a whole lot of draws that I probably need to take care of. But if I kind of scroll to the most recent here at the end, I can see that $80,000 draw that's been requested. If I click view loan again, it'll bring us to the project here. And from here it can automatically spin up my kind of customized draw checklist that's kind of dynamic depending on where the project is, what kind of loan it is, that kind of thing. And then they can also see just some kind of quick notes here of hey, you haven't gotten the inspection yet, right? So we're only 38% complete, but they're requesting more funds than that. And it lets us know that there are some reallocations, right? So what I'll do first is I'll just go ahead and request an inspection. And that will notify the draw inspector that, hey, we've got a new inspection request on that project. But while we're waiting for that inspection, again, we can kind of go through our draw checklist. We can review the invoice, review the reallocations. All of that is kind of visible here if we kind of drill into the actual draw request itself. We'll be able to see kind of the progress compared to how much contingency have we used. We can highlight, if we're running out of interest reserve, if that's involved. And really, if anything is kind of out of whack here, it helps you start that conversation. And then a super deep, dive into, this draw in the context of the overall project budget, where we stand there. You can manage multiple approvals. You can ping the RM for approval, ping credit if it's kind of over a certain threshold, all different kinds of rules that you can program in there. As well as being able to go in and see what files, what invoices, do we have the pay app, do we have lien waivers, that kind of thing. Those will all show up here. But I did want to show kind of, so we've seen the contractor, we've seen the owner's view, the banker view obviously has, kind of the most permissions out of all of them, but I did want to show the inspector's view. So I've got my phone screen pulled up here. And so we just requested that inspection. And so the draw inspector was notified. What's cool is that you can have inspections kind of pre-scheduled in advance so that they just automatically show up on the inspector's queue. Or you can have them be kind of ad hoc like we just did, where we requested a draw on that Texas project down there. And so it pulls up that same schedule of values that the contractor was using to request the draw, that the banker uses to kind of manage the how much is available. That same set of line items, the same kind of set of values is shown here. But the inspector can go in and say, yep, on the interior doors line item, it's 100% complete. This HVAC line item, 100% complete. Again, they can just kind of go down the line there and kind of indicate what they see on site. They can just hit that little camera icon down there in the bottom. And we'll do a selfie with me and Natalie here. Hey. Yikes. And so, they're on site, they're completing the inspection. And then what's cool is that as they kind of review it, they can add a comment if they want to. And then they can upload it from the field. And so, if you've got an inspector that goes on site at 8 a.m. and completes that inspection, at 8:01 a.m., the bank, the contractor, whoever needs to know kind of the results of the inspection, they've got it in hand. In fact, if I kind of pull up this little Zoom camera is getting in the way. If I pull up this project and the draw request itself will kind of be updated. It shows that, hey, this is going to be overdrawn by 5,000. We still need to take care of that reallocation, but I can jump over into this inspections tab and see. Let's take a look. I'm not going to go full screen on that photo. I'll spare you guys, but you can see the photos, you can see the percent complete, and kind of validate that part of the draw. Take care of that item on your draw checklist. But rather than hone in on more of the draw process, I think you guys get it. I do just want to talk a little bit about reporting. Which, if we think of everything that we've done so far as kind of the day-to-day management of draws and inspections and that kind of thing, all of that day-to-day activity happening in this system means that your insights dashboard, your reports are updating in real time, right? So if you want to go in and see, let's say you've got a big, C2P program, you've got a lot of draws kind of coming in and out, you want to make sure what is our draw turnaround time? Which admins are getting their draws done the fastest? Who might need more help because they've got too much on their plate, right? You can see all of that without having to go and kind of maintain a separate spreadsheet, a separate report of draws. You can see, how you're doing month over month. You can see kind of trends in draws getting rejected, for instance, and kind of what months are we seeing, the most kind of draws getting rejected, or what months do we have the quickest draws, and why is that, and start to kind of adjust your team accordingly.
Before you run away here,
Mm-hmm.
This one down here that you're showing how many draws you've dispersed over time and that percentage or the days to get those done, this is where when we implement new clients, I find is one of the most satisfying ones, because you can see when they first came on and then when they implemented, so the turn times are going down and the volumes are going up. And I've been on several calls with clients where they look, hey, look, that's when we did X, and they could instantly see that change and how it impacted.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of configurations. I mean, we like as a company, we're rolling out new features, new functionality. Chris's team is incredible and just making improvements all the time. And so it's all kind of behind, a feature flag, for instance, which just means we can turn it on for certain people when they're ready. And so, we work with our clients to say, hey, you're all trained up, you're ready to go. Let's turn that new feature on for you. And then boom, whether it's things like, collecting lien waivers digitally or making electronic payments and that kind of thing, things that we're kind of rolling out right now. It's just ways to really improve even on our existing software, in addition to kind of the existing processes that we've maybe uprooted with our software. And so, there's a lot of kind of visualizations of the data. You can see things broken out, by loan type. We've talked a lot about consumer here because, looking at it from the mortgage perspective, you really can have your whole construction portfolio on built. So everything commercial, whether it's home builder finance or commercial real estate, and really get a real holistic view of construction, across the board. But even if we are just looking at kind of the mortgage side, you can keep track of really how many loans are active. It's funny how many times we, start working with a client. We're like, okay, so how many loans do you have as we're trying to plan for all of this? And they just don't know. And it's not always easy to find out unless you're using a system like this and kind of keep track of, okay, what's our, how many loans do we have active? What's actually funded based on those commitments right now? You can set up different groups within the organization and kind of keep track of, which, how's the renovation group doing compared to, the one-time close versus, escrow holdbacks, that kind of thing. You can set up all different kinds of like branches and groups and report on them separately.
But I mean, in this report, as we go down below, you can really dive into being that proactive versus reactive, right? So the admins can come into these reports themselves. They can filter by their name and they can determine how many loans are coming up for their construction end date / maturity date, and reach out and again, be proactive. So we're able to deliver these loans to secondary as needed in order for them to make sure that we're being profitable on them.
And even beyond just kind of managing performance and just looking at the portfolio, Natalie made reference earlier that there are a lot of things happening in the world all the time. And so we've done things like pulling in FEMA data for all these hurricanes that are hitting, or wildfires out in the West. And to be able to go in and see, what projects do I have that fall under any of these jurisdictions that currently have a weather event, or, several months ago we had a map where we were tracking construction halts, and so when COVID was causing more and more places to shut down construction, we had a map like this where lenders could go in and quickly identify, okay, here's exactly how many loans we have that are forced to stop right now. And here's how to, we can jump in, start those conversations, figure out what we need to do to make sure things stay afloat.
But nothing's worse than calling a stale construction loan and not taking into account the natural disasters. And you pick up that phone and you ask why they're behind schedule and they laugh at you and say, my house burned down.
Right.
That's just not great customer service. So trying to help bubble up that information at a glance.
And so, even things just like Natalie mentioned, stale loans, just a ton of reports, things that kind of key off of, have we not had any draws or inspections in the last X amount of time? How many projects do we have that are over budget? Let me see all of the loans that are flagged for any reason. Really just ways to get to this data immediately. Here at Built, we're showing you kind of one approach of kind of using technology to maybe improve these processes and get a lot of those manual activities and manual kind of aggregation of data. Like I said, Built it's one approach, and I'm hoping that just this demo today, if nothing else, just kind of gave you guys an idea of what a future could look like if you use some creativity and some new technology, new solutions. And happy to take questions at this point, or after the seminar here. If anybody has any questions about our approach to X, Y, or Z, happy to dive into the specifics with you guys. But I appreciate you guys giving us some time to maybe walk through this today and again, maybe start some of those conversations.
Tyler, we did have a question about the implementation process. So what's the timeline look like for implementation on the software?
Yeah, so it really, the worst answer in the world, it depends. But we've gotten, we have some clients that are, starting a consumer construction group from scratch, and with those folks, we can have them up in a matter of days, right? We've had other groups that have brought on, 1,500, 2,000 loans, and those that could take, on the high end, maybe 4 or 5 months, on the low end, maybe about 2 months. Sometimes it depends on how interconnected we want to be. We can come in and be really fully integrated with a core, a core servicing platform or an LOS. That might add a little bit of time as we work out some of those details. Sometimes lenders prefer to use Build as kind of a standalone tool. And in that case, it can get, a little bit shorter, but that implementation process, a lot of it is put into kind of two chunks. One is, let's get your existing loans, let's get your existing portfolio and really understand not only the processes, but the budgets, all of the details that we need to get to be able to onboard that existing portfolio. And then how do we set up, processes for everything moving forward, and plans for bringing in your customers and their contractors, plans for bringing in your inspectors. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot that has to happen. But we are now at about 125 clients, including Royal Bank of Canada up in Canada. So we're expanding internationally at this point. And so we've done a few of these, right? So we've got it down to a science, but really, it really just depends on how kind of interconnected you want Built to be. But I would say on the high end, about 6 months, and as short as maybe 2 months for the kind of the average.
And it depends on what your data looks like. If it's all kinds of different spreadsheets that are custom for each individual managing them, it takes a little bit more work. If you can't export out of different systems, then it takes a little bit more work. So it really just depends on the resources that you have on your side and what your information looks like today. Like Umpqua, from kickoff to actually launch, and then the invitation of the builders and borrowers, I mean, we had it down to a science and it went really smooth, was 5 weeks for 1,400 loans at that time. So it can vary. And again, it just depends on your resources and what your data looks like.
Great, thanks. Another question was, for the draw schedules, you said that you can build in business rules. Are those customizable per job, or is it per client?
Yeah, so you can load in templates, right? If you just have a pretty standard, percent complete, or maybe a handful of percent complete templates where, okay, we always say, the concrete basement floor, that's 1.5%, framing is 18%, so on and so forth. We can load those templates in for you, so you never have to key anything in, obviously. But other than that, if you've got, more high-end custom homes where you're going to do things based on the builder's budget, it's very easy to just import those from Excel into our system. So again, you're not having to key anything in. And so, you can maintain kind of a mix of those two things, have certain templates, if certain conditions apply, and then otherwise you can import the builder's budget for a more custom job.
And to add to that answer, a few other things that we can do inside of the software. You saw a little bit about draw checklists. Those are supported as templates as well. So we see a lot of lenders adhering to some of their business rules using those draw checklists and those templates. And then on top of that, there are also rules that you can establish around perhaps requiring dual approval internally, that maybe the loan administrators don't have permission to approve a draw in and of themselves. Another individual, whether it's the relationship manager or somebody else, has to approve as well. So those are all things that you can incorporate into the software, so that it can basically enforce those things for you and provide a paper trail to show that that's happened.
Yeah, we've really built out a lot of kind of, a joke that it's like a choose your own adventure, right? You can have scheduled inspections or not, you can have dual approval or not. And so, our job is to come in and figure out exactly kind of what configuration you guys need and tee it up for you.
100%.
But just know that really we're working coast to coast, and you'd be amazed at just the different approaches that you'll find for handling kind of the same kind of loan. And we've been forced to adapt, and we really, I'll say we can support every type of mortgage construction project out there, including kind of the reno world in addition to new construction. So yeah, a lot of this is kind of, it's configurable at the kind of organization level, like Chris was saying. And then, when you get down to a specific project, oh, this builder likes it this way. And so you can change it on a builder by builder basis or for just one specific project. So a lot of configurability.
Yeah, I mean, we ask a lot of questions in discovering your process, and it's really to make sure that you're not trying to put the same box into a new system, right? Why did you purchase this? Obviously, because you want more. So we want to make sure you're aware of all the abilities that it can do and what we see across the nation.
Great. Thank you. And then one other question, and Natalie, this may be, you've shared UMCLAWS and the impact that the software had on your position. Can you give another example of an impact that the implementation has had on a customer that you've worked with?
Natalie, you mind if I
no,
take that one?
absolutely. Yeah, no, look, you see me light up, I get all excited. Yeah, I don't want to necessarily drop the client's name, but I worked with one for all the way from discovery back in the day to when they signed the contract to actually go live. And their process went from 10 to 14-day turn times with a 4 admin team and feeling very overwhelmed with their about 600 loans and just not sure how they could keep up. To 3 months later, after we did all the cleanup, they are running 3-day turn times. They used our built marketplace for all their inspections, and their loan admins are down to 3 with the capacity that doubled. And the 4th person is now more of an audit, a lead role that is able to jump in and really provide that additional service for when somebody's out and an all-around user of built in the industry. So that's just one. I mean, I could go on all day.
And Chris, did you have something you wanted to share?
I was just going to say that it's really fascinating for us to be able to look at the data across the country. And what's been interesting is that, to Natalie's point, on average, we see 7 to 15-day draw turnaround times in the absence of software to facilitate the process. And the average in our system is less than 48 hours. And so for lenders to be able to turn that money around so quickly means a better experience for everyone. They actually, create and improve their bottom line as a part of that. And so it's really the perfect alignment of incentives.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know we're coming up on time here. Thank you so much, Tony, for hosting us. Just a few parting comments. Obviously, want to hear from you if there's anything we could do to support you, both in your active construction lending or if you're wanting to get started in that space. There's a lot that we can do in that regard. And then as far as builds is concerned, we have a lot on the horizon. We have over 80 software engineers and product managers and designers that are continuing to iterate on this product. And we can help you advance a lot of these things pretty collectively, not only right now, but also we're continuing to invest as we go into the next year. So happy to have those conversations.
Excellent. Great. Well, we will definitely provide your contact information in the follow-up email that we send out tomorrow. And as a reminder, you will get an email tomorrow with a link to this video for you to watch and share with your staff or those who weren't able to join us. And I don't see any other questions. So I just want to thank you guys for your willingness, your time, first of all, because I know how crazy busy everybody is. So thank you so much for your time and your willingness to share your expertise. We really do appreciate the partnership that we have with Built, and just thank you guys so much for being on TMC Connect today. And for all of you guys that have joined, thank you so much for joining in the conversation today. Very much appreciate it. I know that once again, it's a crazy time, and please continue to come back to TMC Connect because we will be hosting many more of these webinars to ensure that you have all the information that you need in order to do your business more efficiently and effectively. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you all, and we look forward to seeing you again on TMC Connect. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You guys have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.